So what do I do when I make a mistake on keto?
Well, first of all, I love this quote by Einstein. He said, "A person who never made a mistake never tried anything new." So I would encourage you to embrace those mistakes. Be okay with making mistakes. When we started, how many mistakes do you think we made?
Oh, we made a ton. We
Tons of
were
them.
in that stupid candy aisle getting the Maltitol candy from Russell Stover's or whatever and just eating like tons of them in bed, right before bed at night. Like all the things that we tell you not to do now are mistakes that we've made in the past.
Yeah, we started at day 0 too. We started not knowing what to do and we're worried about mistakes. But you're going to get results even if you make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so great about this diet. And that's one of the things that we got out of Low Carb USA, just like some of my musings on it. I was like, boy, they're really getting in depth this year. It's a good thing that this diet really does work, because now they're like, okay, it works. Let's get into the really nitty gritty science of like basically lipid science, so fat science. So the diet just works.
And remember that if this were easy, if losing weight were easy, everyone would be walking around at a healthy weight. We wouldn't be facing an obesity epidemic. So cut yourself some slack and be okay with making mistakes. I challenge you to change, like radically shift and embrace this radical shift around how you think about failure.
I was thinking about this as you were typing up our notes, and just, people always come here for, tips on what to eat, what supplements to take. And while that's great and we love helping you with that, it's almost way more important to work on this muscle that's between our ears, right? It's not a muscle, but work on this organ between our ears, because if this is not going to work for you, primarily it's going to be because of the way you think, not because of the way you eat, because that's just a set of routines and habits and things. But the way you think is what is going to drive success, long-term success.
So we wanted to talk a few examples of people who were just absolute failures at life and then turned it around because they refused to quit. And that's what we want from you, is just in your heart this refusal to quit on yourself. So
let's see. Well, Einstein couldn't speak fluently until he was 9, and his father died thinking that his son was just a big failure, because he was essentially like kicked out of school and was having a lot of problems, and it just didn't look good.
And then he won the Nobel Prize.
Right.
And did so much. And then you look at Stephen King, one of the greatest writers of our time.
Prolific writers, just so many books.
Yeah, so his first book, Carrie, drop a comment if you've heard of that one. Carrie, his first book, was rejected by 30 publishers. 30 publishers. Like, can you imagine being just flat out rejected? Like this thing that you just put your heart and your soul into. And he actually threw it in the trash can. But his wife pulled it out and said, try again. And it was accepted. But what if he hadn't done that? I mean, think about that. What if he hadn't done that?
Oh man,
What
just
if
think
his
of all the
wife
great
hadn't seen him?
films and all the great books and all the pop culture and all of the stuff that Stephen King has added to the world, the joy he's bringing people, the scares he's brought people, would not be around, because if he had given up at publisher number 29, 30, or 31, right?
Yeah. So, and isn't that true in your own life? Don't you feel like sometimes you've given up on something you really wanted in life right before you succeeded?
Yeah, we talk about this a lot, like not just seeing, sometimes we talk about fear as a signpost, right, as a guidepost, like you're going through life and you get scared of something, right? And I always say, like, look at that as pointing you in the direction you should go. If it scares you, you should go towards that, because there's obviously a connection between that thing and you that is driving that emotional response. Well, it's the same way with failure. Like, you can look at that failure as kind of like fear-based, and you can follow it until you get to where you're going and you're on the other side, which will be success.
So how do we shift our mindset? So first of all, we expect failure. So earlier we talked about some of the work we did in our membership, our group coaching program this week, and we are teaching them to embrace failure. So we set an action item for the week, and the call to action on that was go and embrace failing at that thing. So if we can just expect failure, expect ourselves to make a mistake and be okay with that, but we just keep going. And that's the key. We fail, we check, and we just keep going, and we try again. We don't beat ourselves up. We don't say, this isn't going to work for me because I messed up that one time. We have to learn how to think differently about failure. I mean, think about your child or your grandchild or your great-grandchild. When they very first started learning to walk and they got up and they instantly fell down, did you laugh, point, ridicule? Did you say, you're never going to learn to walk?
You suck.
But that's what you're doing to yourself. Right? You have to fail. You have to fall down before you learn how to do things. And even when you get successful, you're still going to fail at stuff.
I stubbed my toe today and I was like, geez, walk much? How does it hurt?
So then build your self-confidence by embracing learning. Come to live streams like this where you know you're going to get pushed out of your normal mindset. Watch other live streams. We love Dr. Barry. If you haven't discovered him yet, check out his YouTube video. He's a family physician and does a lot of great content around some really deep topics that are important and that a family physician should be teaching you about. And then getting out of the I deserve mentality. This is yours.
Yeah, there's a few things that we all deserve, and it's been enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Like life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Everybody deserves to be loved, to feel safe, to have a home, to know where their next source of food is going to be from. But a lot of times we get into this pity party about ourselves, like I deserve to eat this cake because I had a bad day, or I deserve to drink this beer because I had a bad day. And it's usually like, oh, boo-hoo, poor me. Get over what you think you deserve and start doing what you need to do, because those are all just thoughts inside your head. They're not anything that you've actually earned. It's just something you want. Separate desire from deserve. Recognize it as desire, and then you can either reward that desire because you want to, or you can squash it because you want to. But it's not about deserve, right? It's about desire.
So, above all, try something. This quote by Franklin Roosevelt, another person who failed before succeeding. It's common sense to take a method and try it. If it fails, admit it frankly and try another. But above all, try something. And I want to leave you with this challenge. 2020 is a year that will go down in the history books for so many reasons. It started with COVID and just more and more keeps piling on. I'm not going to get into that, but 2020 is going to go down in the history books. But we have 4 months of 2020 left. This week starts September 1st. We have 4 months. We all have enough time to shape 2020 into what we want it to mean for us. So is 2020 going to be the year that you were a victim, or is 2020 going to be the year that you decided to take charge of your health and your future to create that life you love to live in?